Welcome to the Gospel Addict Podcast. I'm Greg Bryan.
And I'm Jim Reske.
We're gospel addicts because we believe the gospel of Jesus isn't just good news, it's the best news ever.
We're addicted to the gospel because it doesn't just start us out in the Christian life, it is the Christian life.
Join us as we look at the Bible through the lens of the gospel.
Thanks so much for listening.
Welcome back, everyone. You know, today we're diving into someone who found real inner peace. And you wouldn't believe where. A monastery kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah, right. A 17th century Carmelite friar named Brother Lawrence. His wisdom, though, it might just surprise you.
And what's so fascinating is it's not like he's this mystical legend. We get to hear his personal reflections.
Oh, really?
Yeah, through conversations and letters.
Wow.
They were collected in a book called The Practice of the Presence of God. It's like peering right into his inner world.
So it's like we have these almost like intimate conversations, letters. It makes him feel so relatable even after all these centuries.
Yeah.
What really stood out to me was this aha moment he had. He was only 18.
Really?
Okay, picture this. It's winter, you're looking at this bare tree. I know, right? Probably freezing.
Yeah.
And suddenly it hits him. Those lifeless branches,
Yeah.
boom, they'll be exploding with life.
Yeah.
Leaves, flowers, then fruit.
Wow.
It was like wham, this lightning bolt, this incredible unseen power of God just orchestrating it all. Amazing.
To find such a profound revelation in something so ordinary.
I know. Just a tree in winter.
Well.
Makes you think about those moments we have, maybe not lightning bolts, but when something just clicks and changes how you see things, even a little bit. Have you ever felt that?
Absolutely. Those sparks of insight, no matter how small, they can be so powerful.
Yeah.
For Brother Lawrence, it led him to a huge decision.
What's that?
He dropped everything and dedicated his life to God.
So off to the monastery he goes. I bet he's thinking like sackcloth and ashes, strict rules, the whole...
Right, but that's where his story takes a turn. Instead of this punishing experience, he finds this deep satisfaction in the rhythm, the routine of it all.
Oh, interesting. But he didn't become like a hermit praying all day, right?
Right.
His approach to faith was totally different.
Yeah.
He believed in like staying connected to God all the time, even while scrubbing pots and pans.
Exactly. It was about this constant inner dialogue with God. Like, imagine instead of prayer being this separate thing, it's woven into everything you do.
So it's not just like setting aside time to talk to God, but like living with this awareness, acknowledging his presence constantly. Man, that's a challenge. I can barely remember what I ate for breakfast, let alone be present every second.
And you know, what's really relatable is even he struggled. The book says he struggled for 10 years. Doubt, anxiety, the whole 9 yards. 10 years.
10 years, that's a long time.
It's huge.
You'd think like something so devout, almost saintly.
Right.
But even he had those really human struggles.
Yeah, and that's an important point, right?
Yeah.
His experience, it wasn't about like this impossible level of perfection. It was about finding that connection even when it's hard, amidst all the challenges.
Yeah.
He found true peace. Not from fancy rituals or prayers, but the simple, unshakable inner faith.
I love that. And he didn't keep it all hidden away either. He let it infuse his entire life. There's this quote, I love it. He's talking about the monastery kitchen, right? He says he tried to prepare meals with the same reverence as receiving communion.
Wow.
Can you imagine? I burn toast and call it a day.
Right. It's just beautiful how he finds that connection in the most ordinary things. And get this. He felt closer to God while working than alone praying.
Really?
It challenges this whole idea that spirituality needs, like seclusion, separating from daily life.
It's about finding the divine in the everyday, huh?
Exactly.
Chopping veggies, doing laundry, even the commute.
Yes.
Powerful reminder. We don't need a special place, something extraordinary, to connect to something bigger than ourselves.
And that's something everyone can connect with no matter what you believe. Finding those moments of presence, of purpose, right in our routines.
Yeah. Speaking of purpose, Brother Lawrence didn't just live an inspiring life. He left behind like this gold mine of advice in his letters too.
Right.
And they weren't these like complicated theological texts, just pure practical wisdom, encouragement for staying connected to God, even when life gets crazy. Like having a wise spiritual mentor a letter away.
And that's actually a great segue to dive into those letters a bit deeper.
Okay.
His writings, they give incredible insight into how to apply all this to our lives today.
Let's do it. So we're back, ready to unlock some of this timeless wisdom from Brother Lawrence. You said his letters are full of advice, practical stuff. What were some of the big themes you saw?
One thing that pops up again and again is this idea of surrender, like a core principle for him.
Surrender. That's a loaded word, don't you think? Makes me think of, like, waving the white flag, giving up.
Oh, absolutely. But he doesn't mean surrender like that. It's more about completely giving yourself over to God, holding nothing back.
Okay, so not giving up, but more like...
It's about aligning your will with God's, letting go of that need to control everything and trusting in a bigger plan.
Okay, that makes more sense. Releasing that pressure to have it all figured out, to be perfect.
Exactly. And you know, surrender ties in beautifully with another one of his themes, simplicity.
Oh, how...
He wasn't about all those complicated rituals or praying endlessly. He believed in the power of just being consistent. Small acts of faith, but done throughout your day.
I like that. It's not about piling more onto our plates. It's about changing how we see what we're already doing.
Exactly. Finding those little chances all day long to offer up what you're doing, to keep that conversation going with God even when life's busy. Brother Lawrence found them while cooking, cleaning, just everyday stuff. He teaches us it's not about escaping the mundane, it's finding the sacred in it.
That's really powerful. It's easy to box spirituality in, right? Like it only belongs in certain places at certain times.
For sure.
But Brother Lawrence is saying we can carry that awareness, that connection everywhere.
Yes. And something else he talks about a lot, which I think is so relevant today, is acceptance.
Oh, interesting. What does he mean by that?
He wants us to accept everything, the joys, the struggles, the highs and lows, to see them all as coming from God.
So it's not about just being passive, giving in when things are hard, more like finding peace, knowing you're not alone even when it's tough.
Yeah, exactly. It's trusting that even when things are rough, there's a purpose, and finding a peace inside that's bigger than your circumstances.
There's a beautiful analogy he uses to describe it. He compares the soul to being held in the bosom of God.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is. That image, the tenderness and comfort he connects with his faith. It's really moving.
It shows just how deep his relationship with God was. It wasn't about fear or obligation. It was love, acceptance, truly belonging.
You know, it seems almost strange that a friar, centuries ago, could have advice so relevant to us now.
Right.
Our world is so different, constant distractions, demands. It's so easy to feel overwhelmed, totally disconnected.
And yet maybe that's exactly why his message matters so much now.
How so?
Because even with the centuries between us, people haven't really changed that much. We still want connection, meaning a little peace in the middle of all the chaos.
It's like he's giving us a map, a different way to handle life's difficulties.
And the best part is, he's not saying we need some huge life makeover or to run off to a monastery ourselves. He says that peace is available right here, right now, in the middle of our regular lives.
So how do we do that?
Yeah.
If someone's listening, inspired, but also maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, where do they even start to put this into practice?
That's the great thing. He gives us some very concrete advice.
So we've talked about the surrender, simplicity, acceptance.
Right.
But what about the how? Like someone's listening, they're feeling Brother Lawrence, but also like, whoa, where do I even start?
That's what's so great about his teachings. They're so down to earth.
Right.
He's not saying become a monk or anything.
Right.
It's about bringing that intention, that awareness of God into our normal, messy lives.
So not spirituality as this separate thing, like just on my meditation cushion or at church,
Exactly.
but finding those moments all day long.
Yeah. He says even the smallest things, do them with that awareness of God.
Oh,
Like imagine those chores, the dishes, even standing in line at the store.
oh, it's the worst.
They become chances to connect.
It's a mind shift almost.
It is.
Not chores, but like chance to practice being present, grateful.
Exactly. Instead of your mind going a mile a minute while you're washing up.
Oh, tell me about it.
What if you just felt the warm water, smelled the soap, those tiny moments that ground you?
And you know what I find comforting?
Yeah.
He's not saying we'll be blissed out all the time.
Right.
He struggled. It took him years to really live this way.
And that makes him so much more relatable, right?
Hey.
Spiritual growth, it's a journey, not like a finish line.
Hmm.
Ups and downs, clear moments, then doubts creeping in.
It's like life, right?
Exactly. But go easy on yourself, just like Brother Lawrence did.
Progress, not perfection.
100%. If you take away just one thing, You don't need to have it all figured out to get closer to,
to God.
Yeah. Start wherever you are. Use what you've got.
Love that.
Find those little moments. Turn inward. Be thankful.
And we're not alone in this.
Never. It's like Brother Lawrence is right here whispering, even now, peace is possible.
So well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with Brother Lawrence's words, that challenge to find the divine in your everyday. Until next time, everyone, keep seeking those moments that connect us to something bigger.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Gospel Addict Podcast. Feel free to contact us via email at gospeladdictpodcast@gmail.com.
Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, on your worst days, you're never beyond the reach of God's grace, and on your best days, you're never beyond the need of God's grace.
See you next time.